Okay, we'll call the planning and zoning order. It's June 30th, 2022. Start County Planning and Zoning on that. And on the phone, who would you have on the phone for it's part of the board? Who do we have on the phone that's part of the Planning and Zoning Board? Who's on the board?
Hello, you're coming in and out. It's very hard to hear.
Okay,
Okay. How about now? Is it better?
Much better.
Okay, yeah, I picked the phone. Jim Hope here. I'm sitting in for Amanda today.
okay.
Okay.
Anybody out from our board on it? Sue, are you on yet? How about Sandra? Are you,
I'm on. I'm Jeannie Clayton. I'm a landowner that's nearby.
okay. How about Sandra Kuntz? Are you on? Sue was.
Sue, I'm on.
Okay, good. Okay, thanks. Okay, we'll move forward then with that. First, we have the minutes from our last meeting. Is there any corrections or to our June 2nd meeting in 2022?
Also move to approve.
A motion approved. Do I have a second?
Second?
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carried. Okay. Next, then we'll have a public hearing for RZ 09-22 for Taylor and Jessica Landis are requesting a rezoning from agriculture to rural residential on a parcel located on the northwest quarter of section 31, township 140 north, range 97 west, containing approximately 6.4 or 6.34 acres. And you're, Mr. Frederick, are you representing him then? Could you just kind of say what the plan is here?
Sure. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Jason Frederick with Legend Homes. I'm representing the applicant. The applicant, I think about a year ago, came in and split this piece of property off from an adjoining parcel that their family owns with the intention of building a house, but for some reason in the mix, either the engineer or somebody missed the zoning portion of it, so I think it's still zoned ag, and we need to get it to rural residential so we can get a building permit. We didn't find the mistake until I went to get the building permit, and Mr. Josephson said that the zoning had not been changed yet. So the intent is for them to build a single-family home on the property. There's one adjoining road that comes in. Taylor's dad built a new house there like 2 years ago, and then there's an old farmhouse that, once their new house is done there, I think their intention is to tear that down and get it out of there. So, other than that, it's pretty simple. It's a family place. They just want to build a house, and they need to get that zoning out of ag because it's not conforming right now. It's under the 10-acre threshold, I believe. So, or 40 acres threshold. Sorry.
Anybody have any other questions, or? If not, okay. I'm gonna open up the public hearing then on this. Anybody has any comment on this application for changing rezoning from ag to rural residential? Anybody from the public have any comment on this? Are you able to hear me on the phone? Anybody have any comment?
Comment at this time.
No comment? Again, ask anybody from the public any comment on this for or against this. If not, I'm gonna close the public hearing then and ask for recommendations for Mr. Joseph, our planner.
Thank you, Chairman Franchuk. Commissioner Steve Josephson, County Planner. As was stated, you have an application before you to rezone a 6.34 piece of property from agriculture to rural residential. And as the applicant's representative stated, they want to get a building permit to build a house here. And what happened was during the permitting process, we found out that the property had not been rezoned. So staff has recommended approval subject to the findings in the staff report. Mainly two things. Number one, there are single-family homes out there, and single-family homes can be developed on the surrounding agricultural property. And number two, rezoning to rural residential the uses practically, the permitted uses are practically the same between agriculture and rural residential, so it wouldn't really be introducing any new permitted uses into the area. So staff recommends approval, and I am here to answer any questions you may have.
Board have any questions for Mr. Josephson?
No, the one question I do have, this is Commissioner Dressler, is since we get these requests quite often and the two are zoned very similarly, does this board want to look at changing the minimum requirements for some of those things? I just think if we always approve it and they're always, like, you kind of look at things that are constantly coming up and not causing difficulties or have similarities, is there a way we can look at the code and say, hey, maybe since our county is kind of leaning towards smaller parcels, do we want to look at changing some of those requirements that they have to rezone? You would basically have to rezone agriculture to allow smaller parcels, right? Is that what we'd have to
And
do?
that's the way it works right now. And my understanding in this case is, Commissioner Dressler, typically what'll happen is with agriculturally zoned lots, you know, the people who want to get their mortgages will go to the bank, and this may have been the case, Mr. Friedrich could verify this, is typically they'll go to the bank and the bank will say, agriculture property. They'll look at that and say, that is kind of risky in terms of paying off the mortgage, the mortgage on this. We'd like to see something that's zoned smaller and also has the word residential in it. That's been my understanding. This is what people have told me in the past, and hence, that's why that zoning, that's why people have come in for that zoning or come in for smaller lots. I'm not certain what we can do with the zoning code at this point. I know back in 2012 when the zoning code was amended, there had been provisions in there for smaller lots, and I believe that at the time the Planning and Zoning Commission who worked on this, and also the County Commission was looking at having 5 acres and more out in the county, and the smaller lots being within the extraterritorial zones of the cities. I don't know, Commissioner Dressler, if that answers.
Well, I
if
just
that
thought maybe when we look at our
answers that
comprehensive
question.
plan that we should kind of look at all of our,
Yeah.
maybe look at all of our zones and say, are we requiring too many acres to be in this zone? And maybe this is fine, but maybe it's the smaller ones. We get a lot of requests going from, smaller to smaller, and I just wonder, maybe we expand the ranges a little bit to allow for some smaller lots within some of those, but I don't know, just something to think about when we're doing our comprehensive plan later on.
And that's a good point, and I'm waiting to hear if we do get a grant for that, because my personal opinion is what's known as standard zoning, or in Euclidean zoning as it's called. I'm not necessarily convinced that works best out in a rural county. There may be other ways to handle that. So
Just
it's a
something
good
to think
point.
about after you get so many requests that are all the same. You kind of looked at your code to say, is it something that we need to modify within our code? I guess that's what we kind of learned in some of those classes we took.
Yeah, is there a different way to handle
there a
this?
different way to handle it? Yeah.
I'm hoping that that's something,
Yeah.
if we're able to go ahead with the comprehensive plan,
Yeah.
that we look at our current practices and say, perhaps there's another way.
Yeah, right.
Another way to
so
do
that you're
this.
not, constantly calling a board together for something that is just standard practice, or it'd just be a way to save time and money for everyone and for the people trying to build houses too, not having to go through that process, maybe go through it in another way. Obviously, we'd have to find a trend first and see if we could match trends to commonplace things that are happening over and over again that are similar, and then maybe we could look at that. But
Yep. I mean,
It's
my
a
understanding,
good point.
typically my understanding is, egg parcels are usually big parcels, and you can't get secondary market financing on
Yeah.
anything over 40 acres. So if it,
so this particular case.
so this came out of
would
a
have to
parcel that was
happen,
probably
but-
100 acres or 80 acres, I'm not even
Sure.
sure. So I mean, they wouldn't have been able to get secondary market financing
Okay,
on that
yeah,
big
yeah.
parcel, so they have to split it down, and with being the minimum 5 acres, I think it just worked out, they ended up
Yeah.
with 6, but, I mean, so that's kind
That
of where
is,
the,
you're right, that is what these mortgage companies, even if you own the whole 40 acres, a lot of times they'll make you split out just
Yeah.
for that mortgage market. But yeah, it's just something for us to think about if there's any way for us to approve stuff like that without making them go through the whole board process. And I guess that is another, yeah. Yeah,
yeah, because the uses are super similar, if I
yeah,
recall,
super
so.
similar, right, exactly. So yeah, just something to think about, I guess, maybe for some of the lower ones. But anyway, carry on.
Well, I'll move that the Stark County Planning and Zoning Commission recommend approval of the RZ 0922, the Taylor and Jessica Landis rezoning petition from agricultural to rural residential as meeting the goals, objectives, and implementation strategies for the Stark County Comprehensive Plan. All the requirements of the Stark County zoning ordinance and also being in the interest of the public health, safety, and welfare.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second?
I have a second. Any other discussion? If not, I'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Arthod?
Aye.
Commissioner Sobeluk?
Aye.
Commissioner Dressler?
Aye.
Commissioner Larson? Aye. And the chair votes aye, motion carries. And the only other item that was on the agenda that was removed, that was the King Ranchette subdivision. They pulled their application. That's correct, Ms. Joseph, the land has been
Right.
sold.
Right, I just wanted to address that, and also another item, so we can just go to number 4.
Okay.
So what happened was, if you remember from the last Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, the Planning and Zoning Commission asked that, that this be tabled. There were some issues regarding ownership, and I won't get into them. And then one of our commissioners, Commissioner Kuntz, raised the issue of whether or not this was out of order because there were supposed to be 2 property owners signing on and only one had. So, and I believe at the end of the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, I did address that we would go to our state's attorney and ask for her opinion. And her opinion was that it was out of order and they need to start over. Well, that's why that was pulled from here. But since that time, I've been informed that the applicant has sold the property off and corresponded with email by their representative who said that they are withdrawing the application. The second thing I wanted to say is that we have a new member representing the city. As you're maybe aware, Commissioner Walla chose not to return to the city commission, and City Commissioner John Oderman will be our new city representative along with Commissioner Sobolik. So I've already gone ahead and sent him the schedule of the meetings for the rest of the year, and hoping that Commissioner Oderman will be able to join us at our next meeting on the 28th. We are anticipating that there will be 2 rezonings and a minor subdivision plat, but I'll know next Tuesday for sure, and then we'll send an Outlook to you for the meeting. And that's it.
Okay, if there's nothing else, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, a
Second.
motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, those opposed, motion carries. Thank you.